On this episode of I Couldn't Throw It Out, we ask you to close your eyes and try to recreate a place where you used to work. Now, try to remember what you put on your desk or on the wall or in a drawer. And the question is, do you still have those things? Because if you do, it's time to get them out and remember why you saved them. That's what happened to journalist Alan Carter. He saved something that brought back this memory.
There's me talking to Stormy Daniels. And by the way, I'm sort of mad at her because in 2007, she could have broken the story to me about Trump, and she didn't. We talked about her kid, her necklace, life, being a porn star.
To find out the full story of what Alan saved from work, and to hear the stories behind other unusual work treasures, keep listening.
I couldn't throw it out. I had to scream and shout. Before I turn to dust, I've got to throw it out. Before I turn to dust.
Hello, and welcome to I Couldn't Throw It Out, the podcast where we dig out the treasures we've saved for years and try to throw them out. On this episode, I have gathered 4 friends who worked with me at People Magazine, Entertainment Weekly, Rolling Stone, and NBC News, and we're all going to talk about things we saved from work. Just in case you're wondering, why the work angle? Here's my reason. I did a little calculation, and if you sleep 7 hours a night, and if you work maybe 50 hours a week, you're spending almost half your waking hours at work, especially if you count in the commute, it's even longer. So that's a lot. And of course, after all those waking hours, many of us are going to end up with treasures or just plain junk we saved from the office. This could be why, if you remember back in 1987, the band King Missile, the band that brought us the song Detachable Penis, they sang a song called Take Stuff from Work, and it's sort of the inspiration because people do that. I'm sure you all listen to that song constantly, and if not, you can hear it on YouTube. In any case, either now or later, if you took stuff from work, you're going to have to make a big decision. Will you keep it or will you throw it out? So let me introduce today's guests in the order that I met them. First of all, Mr. Alan Carter. Alan and I sat across from each other as fact checkers at People Magazine in 1981. And after that, he had an illustrious career as a TV and magazine reporter. You may remember Alan, who brought hilarity to our Diana Ross episode in the last season of I Couldn't Throw It Out. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you. Hey, Michael. Hi, everybody. And by the way, in 1981, I was 4.
Yeah, liar. Next up is graphic designer extraordinaire Stella Anastasia, who collaborated with me on the website for Entertainment Weekly. Mm-hmm. And now she's the founder of Tart Break, a New York City company that creates funny greeting cards you can eat, which sets me up to say, greetings, Stella.
Thank you, Michael.
I wish you brought us cookies.
I know. It would have been delicious.
Now we have Bernd Albeck. Bernd is another design genius who moved from Germany to San Francisco in the 90s and built his own graphic design firm from scratch. In 2005, he delivered absolutely beautiful designs for the remake of Rolling Stone website that I was leading, but our whole team was fired just a few weeks before it would have launched. So the world never saw that beauty. Guten Tag, Bernd.
Hi, Michael. Nice to see you all. And I met Michael a long time ago.
I know. Once you meet me, you're stuck with me. Like one more guest who joined us today. Meet a man who shared an office with me when we were digital managers at NBC News until COVID required both of us to work from home. He recently made a big career leap. He left digital media and bought a skydiving company outside Providence, Rhode Island, introducing Brett Mickelson.
Yeah, we shared an office together, which is why the things that I had in the office, you know very well, you're very familiar with, because you had to stare at them all day, every day, pretty much for almost 4 years or however long it was.
Yeah, so, well, thank you for joining us, all of you. And now comes the fun part. Each of you brought a treasure you saved from your work life, and I brought one from mine, and we're going to decide what to do with them. We're going to start with a question that is only for Stella and Alan. I want you to think back a minute. Try to imagine any of the offices you worked in. Do you remember anything at all that you hung on the wall or anything you did to make that office your own?
I have one that comes immediately to mind. So I worked at People magazine, as Michael said, with our friend Lisa, who was in the next office over. She had this weird thing with Mel Gibson. And I had a picture of MLK on my wall, Martin Luther King. And she goes, oh, the mayor of Boston was Mel King, I believe. So we got this weird, I don't even remember how, we got this weird idea that she would collect pictures of Mel Gibson and I would collect pictures of famous kings. And I got King Tut and King Lear. I mean, you name it.
So you had King Tutankhamun, but did you also have Steve Martin's King Tut?
Of course. That goes without saying. I mean, I want to do the King Tut dance. I can't remember how it goes exactly. But yeah. So I had the King wall and she had the Mel wall. And people would come in and go, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. And we literally got written up in our company newsletter. And I'd walk down the hallways and stuff. People would go like, are you the King wall? Yes. I had the King family. You name the king, I had it. So we had this competition of who would end up by the end of the year with the most King pictures or Mel pictures. And I believe I won by 2 photos.
Well, Alan, I've got an update for you. No kings. And I'm assuming you didn't keep those photos.
I may have kept the MLK one, but I have the newsletter somewhere of us being written about. It was kind of our 10 minutes of fame.
Yeah, all you need is 10 minutes. Okay, now, Stella, what about you? Did you do anything in your office that you remember or anyone you know?
I didn't really do much decorating in my office, but I do remember having a Jean-Luc Picard bobblehead doll on my desk that I would use as like sort of a stress ball. So I would like rub his head whenever I was getting stressed. And I still have it actually somewhere in here.
Well, if you find it, let me know and I'll make you decide what to do with it. But in the meantime, can any of the 4 of you give me a reason why there's a great significance to what people choose to display in their office? Just like, why do people do it?
Well, I think you want to show a little of your personality to your coworkers. And I think it depends on the place you work. People magazine was this fun sort of camaraderie-based place, show your personality, scream down the hallway kind of place. I've also worked at places that were like, are we in a funeral parlor? And literally edicts coming down from management saying no pictures on your desk.
You hit on the main point, which is you are probably spending most of your day doing something someone else wants you to do. Either it's your boss or a client. And this is one way to show a little bit of yourself, which is why each of us here today brought something we saved from work. We'll try to describe these things in an accurate way, but if you want to see them, I'll also post photos of everything on our website at throwitoutpodcast.com. So we're going to start with Brett. Brett, what did you save from the office we once shared?
I have 2 things. The first thing is a picture of Carl Sagan. Now, a lot of times people will see this picture and they ask me if this is my father. And in a lot of ways, Carl Sagan, I suppose, is spiritually my father, but not biologically. For context, this is the crappiest plastic frame that you could possibly have. And it's a terrible printout from some random office printer. It's not in any way a fancy or nice print of Carl Sagan at all. The background behind this is at my first job at Hearst newspapers back in the day. We were moving offices and we had this really gross plastic frame, and one of the top guys at Hearst was in town. He was normally very stern, but he would sometimes be really weirdly goofy and it would surprise you. And so he would walk around with this plastic frame, put it around his face, and then stick his face in your office or around the cubicle or whatever, and just like laugh in your face through this crappy plastic frame and then run away, giggling.
Did this man drink? Sounds like drunken behavior.
He did. I don't know if he was drinking during the day, but he sure did. And then my friend Keith, who was also at the time my boss, decided to print out Carl Sagan and put him in the frame. And then from that point forward, this crappy thing just followed me around everywhere I went. It lived on every desk I ever had. And then when I went to NBC, it came with me and it lived on my desk there, where everybody was asking me if this was my father. And that was always kind of a way for me to know whether or not this person was nerdy enough to be sort of like spiritually aligned with me. If they knew that this was Carl Sagan and not my dad, then we could be friends.
And how do you feel about Carl Sagan? What did you think about him?
Anybody who knows anything about Carl Sagan has to love Carl Sagan. As a science communicator, whether it's Cosmos or even though the movie Contact was pretty bad, as an author and a thinker about things like the concept of contact and the novel that he wrote there, and just generally, as somebody who is responsible for putting the gold vinyl on the Voyager spacecraft to sort of be the messenger for humanity out into interstellar space. He's a truly remarkable person, even though he did, I don't want to say he lived a short life, but it was shorter than it should have been.
Well, Brett, we have a little surprise for you today.
Oh, nice.
Give me 1 minute, please. Hello, I'm calling you from I Couldn't Throw It Out podcast, and I would like you to introduce yourself and tell your name to everyone on this podcast.
My name is Rachel Sagan.
Would you be able to tell us the story you told me about your grandfather and his cousin?
Sure. So my grandpa George, when he was 13 years old, came over from Russia and he brought his 3 little boy cousins, and they were all tied together by a rope because he didn't want to lose them. And one of them was Abe Sagan, who is Carl Sagan's father.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Did you get to meet Carl Sagan, and what was he like? Do you have any story to tell about him?
Well, he was just really, really nice. And, he was my dad's age, so I kind of thought of him as an old man. But he was a big part of our family, and he was a lovely person.
Brett, do you have any questions for the second cousin of Carl Sagan?
I just, I would want to say thank you. I know that Carl was an extremely meaningful person to a lot of people in the world, and he's sorely missed.
Oh, yeah. He died too young. He had cancer, and he died young.
Was his mother's name Rachel?
His mother was named Rachel, but she went by Ray.
We appreciate you calling in, representing the Sagan family. I can tell you by looking at Brett, we blew his mind a little bit.
I'm calling to give you a message that Carl says hello.
From wherever he is.
Beyond.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Rachel, thank you so much. You made a great impact on this podcast episode. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Michael, that was awesome.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it really was.
Rachel and I are friends from college. I never knew she was related to Carl Sagan.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, how could you hold out on me the whole time we worked together if you were friends with a Sagan and you just let me have this picture on my desk?
That leads us to the next step, which is you've had this picture. It's now with you. What are you going to do with this picture?
Well, where it has lived until I found out about this podcast recording was at the bottom of a bin in my closet, since I no longer have a traditional office that makes sense to display any items in. However, I don't think I could possibly conscious throwing it out. So I will probably keep this. Where I will put it, I don't know. Maybe since I'm in my childhood home at the moment, maybe I'll put it on display on a wall in there because I do have space in there.
Couldn't you take it up in a plane with you? I think Carl would like that.
Well, I could take it up in the plane with me, but then what would I do with it? Just throw it out to the great beyond?
You have to dive with it.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a wonderful idea, but this flimsy paper, there is no way.
Yeah. All right.
Unfortunately, I wish it would.
Okay, so the picture's staying in your childhood home. What's your other thing you brought?
The other thing I brought, this is contemporary with my time at NBC. When I got hired at NBC, it was May 2017. And at the time of my hiring, I already had a plan scheduled. It was already planned out to go to Grand Teton National Park to do a 10-day hike through the backcountry to see the 2017 total solar eclipse. And one of the things that I needed for this trip, but I didn't own, was an ice axe, because there was going to be, even in the middle of August, there was going to be some high elevation passes where there might be ice sheets and snowfields that I would have to cross, where you need an ice axe to stop your fall if you happen to fall, that kind of thing. And in my time getting boarded at NBC, I met someone who worked for a sister group within the company. Her name was Katarina. She worked for CNBC in a similar function. We're both in product management. And she's an avid mountaineer, mountain biker, general outdoorsman type of person. She said, well, you know what? I actually have an ice axe. That's an extra one because I bought these fancy new ones, and you can use it for your trip. So she gave me this ice axe. I needed it to sit around for 6 months while I waited for the actual trip. So where else was I going to put it? I just, stuck it on my desk or hung it on the cubicle wall or whatever. And every day people were walking by being like, who is this axe murderer, literally, with this axe on their desk? But I didn't know where else to put it. I went on my trip. Turns out I never needed this. It was warm enough that I didn't actually need to use it. I stuck it in the snow one time just to prove a point, and that was it. And then I came back and tried to return it to Katarina. So I would put it on my desk and wait until she would take it from me. And for 4 years or so, she refused to take the ice axe back. And as you can see, because it's still here in my hands, she never wanted it back. So now I have an ice axe. Next time I need to go traverse a snowfield, I'm prepared.
Okay, well, that's a keeper because it's got a use for the future.
Yes.
And knowing you, there will be trips to ice fields. You kind of proved Alan's point, because I would say the ice axe and Carl Sagan do tell us something about Brett Mickelson and his personality established in that tiny office that we shared that was meant for one person, but the two of us were there.
One other thing that I will add.
Yeah.
If anyone listening to this podcast has not seen a total solar eclipse in person, make an effort to go see one. It is life-changing. The things that change around you during the moments before and during totality, you wouldn't expect. You can sort of intellectually think, I know what it's going to be like, and then you're actually there and it's completely different from what you thought. It's a completely beautiful and astonishing experience.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that. And really, really appreciated sharing an office with you. And now you're sharing your stuff with us. And now we move on to Bernd Abeck. And I need to point out something that he would never point out himself, which is that we tried out many people to redesign Rolling Stone's website, and Jan Wenner was not impressed with anything. And he saw what Bernd did, and he loved what Bernd did. I remember Bernd used special golden clips to hold it all together. He's like, where did he get these clips? I don't think I ever heard him like anything while I was there, but he loved Bernd's designs. And although the designs never happened because we were all fired, and they would have happened if they kept us 1 month more, they would have had a new website. 2 years later, I got a call from Rolling Stone. Do you still have those designs?
Wow.
Yeah, that's how those things go. But anyway, Bernd, tell us what you have saved from your office life.
Well, so we had an office south of Market in San Francisco, and at that time it was a really bad area. So we had a nice, like this classic loft space, industrial office, like with high ceiling, concrete floors, big windows. Then we discovered next door there was this another warehouse space, and they had these big garage doors that open up, and then we saw them painting something. So we went in there, and what they did is they painted these big record covers. They would be used as advertising. They used to hang at Tower Records. So whenever was a new release, they would paint these record covers, and they're like tall. They're like 6 by 6 feet. We just loved it, right? Because they're all hand painted. So once in a while, we would go in there and buy them from them, because they would just take them back when the record release was over, and then they would overpaint them. We just thought it's such a waste because some of them just really beautifully done. They were like brush paint and airbrush. So we put them in my office, which was nice because we had these high ceilings. So we hang them from the ceiling. And I still have 3 of them, 2 in my office now and 1 at home.
Now we're going to pause for a moment and notice that Bernd has saved 1990s album covers from 3 new wave British bands that were mostly famous in the 80s. So in 2025, this is like doubly retro. Bernd, which ones did you save?
So we have Blur, Pet Shop Boys, and then Eurythmics.
Do you have a favorite? If you had to get rid of 2 and only have 1, which one would you save?
I think it would be the Pet Shop Boys one because I like the kind of like weirdness. I don't know if you can tell. They're sitting in a subway. See, the window in the back is blurred and their faces are blurred, but their body are solid. So it's just a little kind of a weird play on the subway ride. So that's my favorite. And I have that, at home in my house because what I like is, that it's so big, wide scale. Like normally if you go to people's houses, they have little pictures framed. So I think that the scale is kind of part of the effect. And I like that it's kind of commercial art, right? It's not like unique. They didn't create it, right? It's almost like Andy Warhol, right? Where you just recreate something and not perfectly.
By the way, did you have any of the albums?
Yeah, no, I have all 3 of them. I had the Eurythmics and the Pet Shop Boys. And then later I bought the Blur one because it's just such a beautiful cover.
And because girls who like boys who like boys who like girls will always, whatever they sang.
So true, yeah.
That was their most famous song. And I also find it interesting that you like the Eurythmics, whose line was, some of them want to abuse you, some of them want to be abused. I wonder if this tells us anything about Bernd, but I hope not.
Probably.
It tells us probably that you're cooler than Alan Carter. I think that's safe, right, Alan?
Everybody is cooler than Alan Carter.
No, that's not possible.
Oh, no. Trust me on this.
It's 2025. You have these 1990s albums dominating your work life, large over your work life, large over your home life. Is your plan like, they're going to stay up until whenever? Or do you have some plan of what you would do with them if you weren't going to have them anymore? Have you ever thought of getting rid of them?
Yeah, not really, because such a unique thing. Hopefully I can give it to my kids or something.
Okay, that's it. The I couldn't throw it out answer that is very acceptable is give it to your kids. Those are so cool. Thank you so much for sharing them with us, Bernd. And, you did tell us something about yourself when you told us about those. So now it's time for Stella. Hey, Stella. We worked at Entertainment Weekly together with another favorite designer, Alex Knowlton, and we need to shout out to Alex.
Hey, Alex.
What you saved is especially interesting to me because it shows some overlap in the way you and I think about saving things.
Okay.
And I bet there are a lot of other people listening who feel the same way we do. So tell us what you've got.
Well, I found, after looking through possessions, my very first portfolio of first websites I ever designed in the late 90s. Now, I was waitressing at the time and teaching myself how to design websites so that I could pivot out of waitressing and do this instead. It occurred to me when I was trying to find work that I would go to talk to people about hiring me, and I would never know if they had reliable internet, right? That's how new. Or people would say, what's a website? When I would ask them, can I do your website? So my solution was to print out websites, which seems so ridiculous now, like I'm printing out this website to show you, right? This is my portfolio. This is my very first design of my company website. My company is named Hairy Legs and Company, and my logo is a hairy-legged spider. And so this is circa 1996.
Wow.
It's like a little time capsule of the internet, right? So the big thing was, choose one of these search engines to find what you're looking for on the web. And it's Alta Vista, Lycos, Excite. Are you guys familiar with any of these?
Yeah, I remember those.
And if you look at the top, you'll see this is screen grab, Netscape browser. Remember Netscape?
Mm-hmm.
None of these businesses are still in business.
Not your fault.
Yeah, no, honest, that really wasn't my fault. And then we get to the early Entertainment Weekly website designs. Now, when we were doing these pages, we were hand coding this stuff, right? So, like, no database stuff, no dynamic stuff.
I mean, I just want to shout out the X-Files page that you led with there. That's, Scully and Mulder talking about science and science fiction and everything. I'm all about that.
Oh, wait, I think I have another one of them.
Estella, one of these things this makes me think about is that my first internet job was in 1995 for Wired Magazine's website, Hotwired. They told us that if it's on the web, it'll be around forever, so you don't have to archive anything. So I didn't save things for the first time in my life. I save everything, so I didn't save. I did audio interviews with Laurie Anderson, Yoko Ono. They shut that site down. They took it off. It's not even on Time Machine or anything. It's gone.
Oh, no.
It was such an early site. They didn't know anything about permissions. So they were just like, to clear permissions on everything we stole would be way too hard. So they just got rid of everything.
That's heartbreaking.
Didn't you have a tape recorder or something? Or?
I didn't even think, I need that. It's on the internet.
Right, it'll be there forever. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's so funny.
That's why I think what you've got is so important. I mean, we put so many hours of our life into work. Such a high percentage of our life goes into work.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we have to show for it later? Especially if you're doing creative work, you've done creative things and they're gone. If you don't do what you did, you've saved history there because that stuff's not available.
It's actually nice to hear you say that because these things, they have no practical purpose. Like, they're not a portfolio I'm going to use now, right? I've lugged these things around with me through 3 moves, and now I live in a 1-room studio apartment, and I'm still holding on to them, right? Like, I have no space for anything, but I'm going to keep these because it's a little time capsule of the start of my career,
I think you should be thinking about if you ever, are going to have to divest yourself of things like where you to some kind of internet archive they should go.
That's true. Although I do wonder if anybody would really be interested in Sightline, This one was actually a pretty good one. Public Works. This guy was an artist who used to do oil paintings of firefighters in Philadelphia. I should track him down and send this to him, actually.
Yeah, exactly. You've got some work to do.
Yeah. I got a list of things brewing now. Thanks, Michael. Because I don't have enough to do. I'm going to start thinking about this now.
Well, thank you for sharing those with us. And now, on to Mr. Carter. You interviewed so many people during your career. Can you name a few for us?
Okay. Richard Gere, James Earl Jones, Jackie Collins, Joan Rivers, the cast of Melrose, you name it, Cheers, soap stars, Susan Lucci, you name it. 40 years at newspapers, magazines.
What shocked me is that after all those people he interviewed, I asked him what he had saved, and he basically had saved almost nothing compared to me, where up in that attic is every interview tape, everything, every note I took for every interview. But Alan did save something. What is it that you saved, Alan?
I found this drawer where I found old badges from things like a Melrose Place VIP party, which I thought from 1994, why do I have that? The finale of Cheers badge, the daytime Emmys, which I consulted on at one point. I wrote the soap awards a couple of times. I was a guest speaker at the NLG, National Gay Lesbian Journalists Association, talking about soap operas. Like, that's going to be on my resume. Forgot I did it. Okay, but the thing that I found and I laughed and cracked up the most, and Michael's already laughing. Early back in the days of the web, and I was at CBS Local in Los Angeles, we were rogue. We did everything. We covered, the finale of Big Brother, Survivor, all that stuff. My boss at the time said, why don't we go cover the porn convention? Porn is big. The show was going. So it was like, well, if the show's going, we should go. So it was 2007, and there was a erotica convention. There you go. And it was happening the same weekend that Hillary Clinton announced that she was running for president. And this becomes significant in that we went to the porn convention over 2 days. My boss photographer took about 400 photos. We did a slideshow on our website. 9,000 people loved it, wrote in, oh, that's so great. And these are like half-naked women, a couple of like Chippendale types, but mostly it was naked women, bikinis, that kind of thing. we get this one irate letter from a woman in Orange County. And if you know Orange County, California, this is sort of redundant. Very conservative area. How dare you? Hillary Clinton announced today, you don't have this on your website. It was front and center. And she said, and I will never watch your station again. You people are disgusting and gross, and this exploitation of women, and on and on and on. 2 pages. And she, I'm going to start watching Channel 7. At the time, the web was rogue, and they allowed me to answer mail and stuff, which I have no idea why. So I wrote back and I said, lady, that's nice, but Channel 7 was in the booth right next to us. And basically, go bunk yourself. Anyway, the general manager was not amused and tried to fire me.
Is it not true that you met someone special at that convention who you want to mention, someone who's now famous?
Okay, so this is funny. Yes, 2017, 2018, I have a boss at the time, and this is 10 years later. You've met everybody, like Michael always joked. You know everybody. And he'd throw out a name, and I'd say, yeah, I met her. He named 2,000 people, and I knew like 1999 of them. So he says, Stormy Daniels. And I said, yeah, I think I've met Stormy Daniels. He goes, come on. So I called the then supervisor, who was now working for another company, and I said, do you remember the porn convention in 2007 and 8? I swear we met Stormy Daniels. He goes, I don't think so. He said, I'm a straight guy. I would have remembered. But he goes through 400 photos in his archives, and sure enough, there's me talking to Stormy Daniels. And he goes, how did you remember that? And I go, I remembered her necklace. It had a beautiful, charm on it, and it's diamonds. And he goes, you got to be gay. She's standing there, basically her breasts hanging out, and you remember her chain. I said, if there's anything that I needed to tell you to prove that I'm gay, it's that. I remembered Stormy Daniels because of her chain. So yeah, I met Stormy. And by the way, I'm sort of mad at her because in 2007, she could have broken the story to me about Trump, and she didn't. We talked about her kid, her necklace, life, being a porn star. And by the way, here's the funnier part. I'm the gay guy walking around with the Channel 2 logo on my microphone. And women who, TV, they light up. Oh, it's TV, right? They didn't know I was the website. I had more offers for things from women.
All right.
Okay, other than those types of offers, do you remember if any celebrities ever offered you a gift of some kind?
I've gotten some things that I thought, oh, okay, thanks for this. I once jokingly said to Joan Van Ark that she kept me waiting so long and was so annoying and kept the photographer waiting so long. I said, you should buy me a car. And she said, what kind of car would you like? And I just threw out Porsche. 2 weeks later, Mr. Carter, you have a delivery at the desk. This is at the New York Daily News. And I'm like, I'm not expecting anything. No, please, you have a delivery from Hollywood. And I was like, oh, okay. So I go out and there's this huge box. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And it's JVA on it. I'm like, JVA? Yeah, okay. Anyway, she sent me a Porsche. Now, it was a mini Porsche. But she said, I love you, and I'm so sorry I kept you waiting. Love, Joan.
Wow, that's impressive.
And I thought, how do you get mad at somebody like that? She was thoughtful enough to send me the Porsche. I still have it. It's probably worth like a couple $100, but
Oh, yeah, so why didn't you bring that? Where is it?
I could go get it.
I think you didn't tell me the truth when you told me you didn't save anything.
Well, this is the funny thing. Here's my confession to Michael. When Michael first broached the subject to me, I thought in my head, well, Michael, I'm not a saver. I kind of do chuck things out. I'm not a big sentimental person. And I'm going through these drawers going, you lied to your friend Michael.
This leads us to the question we need to answer, which is, what are you going to do with those badges?
What's that movie line? We don't need no stinking badges. I'm sort of downsizing in my life right now because I've, hit the AARP age. I kind of don't know if I downsize what I'm going to do with a lot of this stuff. It probably will go in the trash. Now, my autographs and my picture with me and, I don't know, Burt Reynolds, those kind of things I'm probably going to keep because they're not easy to replace. The badges to me, if I have to go, wait, I attended that? It couldn't have been too important if I don't remember the event.
Do you want to set an example and get the trash can and throw some of them out right now?
No, because I'm not that brave. I talk a good game.
Isn't it true that by saving these things that the memories come back and that's the value of saving them?
Well, yes. And sometimes it's, I don't even remember this happening. Or like, did this happen to somebody else?
I feel like you've got something to say about my cause, which is these stories came back to you when you looked at the things that you pulled out of the drawers.
Yes.
You'd forgotten the stories, and the things brought back the stories. So I think there's a value in saving them just for that.
No, you're right. And I don't think I saved them at the time for the idea that 30, 40 years later, I'd go, oh, remember that time when you did X, Y, or Z? Sometimes it was just throw it in the drawer.
I think you said one thing that wasn't true. You said, I don't know why I saved the porn event badge. And of course you saved it, because how many people get to go to a porn event? I mean, it's funny. And you saved that for a reason, and I don't think it's random.
I think you might be right there.
Did you just say that I'm right? Because in that case, we'd better move on before you change your mind. This is the last item from work we're going to share today, and it's something I saved from the 1980s when I was writing the Chatter gossip column on the last page of People magazine. I saved it for 40 years, partly because it shows the ridiculous aspects of being a gossip columnist and the decisions you have to make, and partly because it involves losing my temper at work, which is really not a good thing to do, and partly because it involves people who were super rich and very famous at one point, and probably no one younger than 50 knows who they are today. What I have in front of me is a pen set. It has on one side a clock with those glow-in-the-dark hands that probably are extremely poisonous. Then it's got a pen in the middle, which I just tested and is still working. And then it's got a thermometer thing on the other side. Those are in brass, and it's on a wooden plank. And on the wooden plank is a little brass engraved item. And it says, "Sweet guy. Thanks for everything, Mike. Marty." During my 6 years at People, I collected not one, but 3 of these pen sets. Only one is still in my possession, which is very strange because I save everything. So it all begins with the person who sent them to me. Marty was a guy named Marty Ingalls, and I know this is a long shot, but has anybody heard of Marty Ingalls?
Raise hand. Marty Ingalls was a huge comic in the 50s, 60s, early 70s.
Exactly. In the early 1960s, he starred in a TV series called I'm Dickens, He's Fenster, and it was a slapstick sitcom about construction workers. And his co-star was John Astin. Anybody recognize that name?
The Addams Family.
Okay. Who did he play?
Gomez.
Another win for Alan Carter. John Astin played Gomez on The Addams Family. And Marty Ingalls later made guest appearances on many other TV shows, including The Dick Van Dyke Show, Bewitched, and The Love Boat. He was the voice of Pac-Man in the TV series about Pac-Man. He also happened to be the nephew of Abraham Beame, who was the mayor of New York City from 1974 to 1977.
Never knew that.
But the most relevant thing about Marty Ingalls is that he married Shirley Jones. Now, do any of you recognize that name?
Partridge Family, right?
Ding! Score one for Stella. Shirley Jones was the mother on the Partridge Family TV series.
Oh my God, I just dated myself.
That was from 1970 to 1974. And they had a number one hit song. Does anyone else remember what the name of that song was?
Well, is it I Think I Love You?
It certainly is. You got it right.
Ooh, I think I love you. So what am I so afraid
Afraid
of?
I'm going to be unsure of a love that is too good or whatever.
No.
I cannot remember what I had for breakfast, but I remember the lyrics from I Think I Love You from 50 years ago. What does that tell us about our minds?
Let's not go there.
Hey, I was a 14-year-old boy who had a crush on David Cassidy.
Okay, David Cassidy was the shaggy-haired heartthrob singer in the Partridge Family. But what was his off-screen relationship to Shirley Jones?
She was his stepmother because at that point she was married to Jack Cassidy, his father.
Right, but she and Jack Cassidy also had 2 other kids.
Patrick and Sean?
Yeah.
I win.
Both of them became teen stars and then serious acting credits. One of them was in Pirates of Penzance on Broadway.
Oh, yeah. They all had pretty good careers. You know, they were a talented family.
But what's interesting is that Shirley Jones, before the Partridge Family, she starred in the 3 of the biggest musical movies ever made. Through the top 3. 1955 Oklahoma, 1956 Carousel, 1962, The Music Man. She was the Timothée Chalamet of musicals. She was so big. She was like so famous. And she is 91 and still alive today.
Ah.
But her marriage to Marty Ingalls was kind of stormy. She filed for divorce in 2002, but then never followed through. And they stayed together until his death in 2015.
I remember her once doing an interview, and somebody said, Shirley Jones, the classy, refined actress singer, with Marty Ingalls, who was sort of a goofball comic. You know when they say opposites attract? I'm not sure they could find somebody more opposite than Marty Ingalls. But she stayed. She's a loyal woman.
He was a guy who had sort of a temper. He sued the National Enquirer for defaming Shirley for $20 million. He said at the time, it will make the Carol Burnett suit look like a high school prom. He also sued the actress June Allison in 1993 for not giving him a commission. He was a talent agent and she got a job doing Depends commercials.
You could say she was pissed off.
Oh.
Adult diaper jokes.
Yeah. I was writing the gossip column on the last page of People called Chatter, and he, like many other people, would call me with tips and stories. His stories were always about Shirley Jones. So Shirley Jones was not that well known at the time. Unfortunately, after the Partridge Family, she never returned to her former fame, although she did do some acting, and she was still incredibly talented. I did place some Shirley Jones items, and when I placed the first item, I received these notes. Now, this is Marty Ingalls stationery. He has a little drawn cartoon of himself in the bottom corner of his stationery, and he writes things out as if they were poetry, almost like E.E. Cummings. I did save the one from when I ran my first Shirley Jones item, and it reads like this. In a William Morris world of hold-button words and cellophane promises and disposable everythings, it is good to know that the sweet and compassionate likes of a Mike Small ain't going away so easy. Parenthesis, I thank you, Mike. We all thank you for your constant indulgence and your friendship.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's so nice. In my history at People, Entertainment Weekly, and all these other places, the rare times you got notes from people, and it was rare, you'd almost sort of fall out of your chair when you got one. I usually got calls from people saying, how dare you, I'm going to kill you. He obviously put some thought into that. And that's very sweet.
I think I'm going to disagree with you about that, and we'll see as this goes on. Along with this note came one of these wooden things with the clock and the thermometer and the pen.
Aww.
And then I ran another item, and I got another one of these, another letter, another one that I didn't save. But a third time, he called me and had a Shirley Jones item, and I said, I can't run any more Shirley Jones items. And he screamed at me. He reamed me. He was furious. He told me I would have my job, whatever. He was so angry. And then I didn't like that either, so I yelled at him. So somebody's nearby hearing like me yelling on the phone at Marty Ingalls, and Marty Ingalls is yelling at me. They can't hear that. I thought that was that. The next day, a package arrives. Guess what I get? Another pen set.
I was going to say, he must have had a warehouse of these clocks, but how many did you get?
3. And on this one, it says, here's the same sort of note with the drawing in the corner. The first line is written in black magic marker, handwritten. In a hair temper, hair trigger world of misunderstanding, miscommunication, misjudgment, and miss everything else, I can only be grateful for someone so far away who seems always open and ready to listen. Whatsoever else comes by us, MS, let us not lose that. Marty. That was after I screamed at him and didn't run the item.
Wow.
I also happen to have with this, dated July 27th, 1984, a letter from Michael Small on People Magazine stationery. And it says, Marty, please don't get angry. I appreciate the thought behind this, but the last time you sent me a gift, I told you that I could not accept anything else. That's company policy, and I think a sound one. The kind letter you sent was certainly enough of a thanks, much as I didn't deserve it, without the gift. As I hope you could tell from our phone conversation, I have no hard feelings. But practically speaking, our past experience does change things between us in terms of the chatter column. I don't think I could submit items from you for some time. Sorry, but that's the way it is. Anyway, thanks for this nice gesture, and I hope you understand why I can't keep the gift.
You should have said P.S. I think I love you.
And what am I so afraid of? I'm afraid of you yelling at me.
You did raise an interesting point. I have about 10 celebrities who I had bang up meetings with, like, let's have lunch, let me have your child, like, let's go to my pool, hang out with me. And a year later, they'd see me and say, I'm going to kill you. Like, oh, okay. We were close once. And sometimes it was sort of just like, hey, the magazine, like, we wrote a thing. I'm sorry. I didn't write that. And then there were times it was like, I wrote something that your mother could have written. What are you talking about? Like, there was never any rhyme or reason to it. And I thought, you know what? That's the nature of this business. You're a movie star and you loved me on Thursday. And on Saturday, you offered to kick me and break my pencil neck.
In this case, if I wrote anything about Shirley Jones, he loved me.
Yes.
He only hated me when I didn't write about Shirley Jones. So that's where it went. I returned one of his pen sets. Bearing all that in mind, do I keep these letters? Do I keep my clock and pen set? Do I put it in a box? Do I put it on display? Opinions, please.
I think you have to keep at least one of them, right? And the letters.
Yeah. It's like the universe is telling you, right? They sent you 3 of these things.
It's such a classic old school gift, yeah?
So you have 2 of the pen sets now?
No, I only have one left. I guess I gave one away, and clearly from that letter, I returned one to Marty Ingalls.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, if you had 2, one's a perfect regift.
That's funny. I think the regifting idea is going to happen eventually, and I should think about who will be regifted this.
In my family, we have a tradition where my aunt, my mother's sister, many years ago, she was at like a tag sale somewhere, and she saw the ugliest plastic poinsettia, and it's huge and it's disgusting, and she bought it for $1. And then every year it gets passed from one family member to another. Whoever receives it has to prominently display it in their home for the rest of the year, and then they're allowed to pass it on. I mean, this pen set could be something like that. And I believe in my family tradition, there's like a poem you have to write when you regift it.
So this is perfect, because in my case, Marty Ingalls already wrote the poems.
Exactly. That's what made me think of it.
In other words, if you know me, beware when the holidays arrive, because this is just one of the many things I've saved from work, and they've all got to go. But that's it for today. Until I come knocking on your door with gifts, Brett, if our listeners want an adventure, what can they do?
Anybody in the Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut area, you want to come skydive, come hit us up. We'll throw you out of a plane.
And to sign up, I go to your website,
which is bostonskydivecenter.com.
Okay, beautiful. Bernd, if I want to hire a graphic design firm in San Francisco that does visually stunning work that even Jan Wenner loved, how do I contact you?
Just go to my website, abecinc.com. So anytime you want anything, big or small, we do it.
And that's ABECKINC.com, abecinc.com. Excellent. Stella, if I want to buy cookies with really funny greeting cards printed on them, how do I get them?
You go to tartbreak.com.
Do I have to be in New York City?
You do have to be in New York State to order from me. I'm working on expanding that.
Okay, tartbreak.com. Alan, if I'm a listener to this show, if I want to ask you on a date, how is that done?
My number is on bathroom walls all over. 1-800-horny-black-man would probably be the best way.
Thank you. That's what I was hoping you'd say. If you enjoyed this episode, please sign up for our newsletter so you'll always know what's coming next. You can do that at throwitoutpodcast.com. And once again, if you want to see the treasures we've saved today, I'm posting photos of all of them on our site. That's throwitoutpodcast.com. That's it. Thank you, Stella, Bernd, Brett, and Alan. And remember, anyone who is listening, if you save stuff from work, it's important. Think about it before you throw it out. Bye, everybody.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Look up that stairway to my big attic. Am I a hoarder or am I a fanatic? Decades of stories memories stacked. There is a redolence of some irrelevant facts. Oh, I couldn't throw it out. I had to scream and shout. It all seems so unjust, but still I know I must. Before I turn to dust, I've got to throw it out. Before I turn to dust, I've got to throw it out. Well, I couldn't throw it out. Oh, I couldn't throw it out. I'll sort through my possessions in these painful sessions. I guess this is what it's about. The poems, cards, and papers, the moldy, musty vapors, I just gotta sort it out. Oh, I couldn't throw